It is my privilege and joy that we can continue our Bible study in the Crucible with Christ, having the subtitle, Waiting in the Crucible. Now, waiting is not a natural ability of the human being. Why not? Because when God created the human being, there was no need that he should have something to wait for. Because patience is only necessary under difficult circumstances. It's only necessary in a state where you look for better things to come. By example, when you're sick. When one is sick, he needs patience, but most patients have no patience, so they run to the doctor, they do this and that, because they want to get rid of that state of being sick. But sickness was not in the plan of God. So that's why there was no patience necessary to put into the human spirit as a need. We need patience when something is not ready. When I sit sometimes at a table and the food is there and you have to wait for someone who is not ready to come, I have a hard time waiting because that food is very attractive to me, and so can I wait? It's not a natural ability to wait when the food is on the table or when things don't come at the right time. When you want something, when you order something, you would like to be immediately there, would you? So when we speak about patience, to wait means patience on a solution, then it is because of a difficult thing. But that was not originally meant to be. So it doesn't matter if it's in the traffic, when you're blocked, or in every situation you are. It is not natural to be patient. It's divine to be patient. That's why at the beginning of my conversion and my walk with God 19 years ago, I started to put certain Bible verses on a paper and pinning them in front of my desk so that I might see them and remember them. So one of those Bible verses was Lamentations 3:26. It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of the Lord. Now, I am not a patient person. That's why I said this is something I need. It said it is good. The German translation says it's something precious. It's something precious to wait upon the help of the Lord with hope. Oh, it's the same content, but a little bit other words. It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of the Lord. This waiting of the Lord is something that is not naturally in the human being. When Jesus waited that his Father should intervene, that was what came into the issue. Will he wait until God helps him? Or will he make bread out of stone? Or will he take the offers of Satan and just be relieved of his suffering? None of them Jesus did. Because he was bound to his Father. Because his Father had the ability to be patient and wait. When God reveals himself to Moses in Exodus 34:6-7, he says this, And the Lord passed by before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty. Now, looking to all these characteristics of God that he expresses to Moses in front of a people that is not a people that is listening, but a stiff-necked people, we see that all the qualities, all the characteristics are just needed in the presence of an evil state. We are not merciful by nature. No. Well, we are by nature helpful. By nature, we run and see when someone is in a certain need. That is in us, that we should care. But merciful means to be merciful to the one who does wrong to you, to pray for him, to bless him. That's mercy. To be merciful to one that does you evil, that is not an inheritance in our human nature, from our, not our birth, but from our creation. God didn't create Adam with the capacity of mercifulness or gracious or long-suffering because there was nothing bad in this world that he should have been merciful for that. And these are things that come from God because he's able, in the presence of sin, to deal with sin in a merciful, gracious, long-suffering, I mean with the sinner, and abundant goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin. Now, if that would not be there, he would not need to be merciful and gracious and long-suffering. So, when we are called to be patient and wait with patience in the crucible, then it is something that we have to show that is divine and not human. It's even more than the human Adam was created. Because when we show these qualities, then we prove that we are bound to God and God is our Father. These qualities Jesus had, and he is giving them to us through inheritance of his new life that we can live. Now, God's patient enduring of man's injustice. We are asking ourselves, why is Jesus still not come? And Peter gives us an answer in 2 Peter 3:9. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but he is long-suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. So, when God is prolonging, obviously, this suffering on earth, it's not because he does not fulfill his promise. It is because of his patience, his long-suffering, not willing that anyone should perish. God will finish this work only when all people have taken their final decision. That's why he's waiting. Now, do we wait on him or he waits on us? Now, evidently, the Bible tells that he waits on us. That's why we are said that the day of the Lord shall come, and who shall stand when he appeareth? Because there must be a people that stand, and especially there must be a people that is pure and clean, that can show to the world that what the world needs to see, a pure gold, pure silver. That means pure righteousness. Because these people who are cleansed, they may offer to the Lord an offering in righteousness. This is why Jesus works actively. He never rests, that he might have a people through whom he can bring the world to its final decision. So he waits on us. The pure children of Levi are bringing mankind to the final decision. And that's the purpose why he cleanses them. Because they must be the light of the world. In them, the people must see and recognize superhuman abilities. Superhuman abilities. They must see God in us. They must see a love that they cannot deny that it's love. They must see things that they can only say, this is God's child. That's why he cannot put us in front of the world yet, until he has not cleansed us. But when he has finished us, he will have a people that he says in his word, here is the patience of the saints. Now the question is, are these really saints or just justified saints? Are these people really pure? Or are they just God looks on them like they are pure? Now, evidently, there is something that they show in their lives. That there has been a transformation, not only to be like Adam before the fall, but a transformation that gives them abilities that Adam did never have. And that is patience with those who do you wrong, to bless those who curse you, to do good those who do you wrong, to love your enemies. All those things are real. They are not a game. These people are real. You can put a hand on them and they show that they are his divine children. They have the new life of Christ because they live completely his life, his resurrected life, in whom there is the ability to be patient with the sinner. They show that there is a complete keeping of the commandments. You can never keep the commandments of God. You can never ever do that if you're not perfect. If you're not in the truth, you don't keep the commandments. So only perfect people keep the commandments. And that's undisputable. That's the reality. These people are not justified in the way that they come before God because God sees them holy. No, they are holy. They are keeping the commandments. They fulfill the requirements of entering heaven because they live only from God and out of his love. They prove it. They prove it in the darkest hour of this world's history. They are the light of the world. They are real. They are not robots. They are human beings that have been, through the grace of God, in their heart, transformed, having Christ's, his life, his faith in them, proving that they have those abilities that God showed to Moses on the mount. They prove that to the world, as Moses also learned it from God and proved it to the people. So, these 5 virgins, the ones that were they were the wise ones, the ones that were having the oil, when they were called at midnight to rise, they were ready. The parable is interesting in the way that when they all fell asleep, their situation was already sealed. That means when we look back in history, we see that before final judgment comes a pre-judgment, and then comes some time of a relaxed time, and then comes the final execution. So it was with Israel, with Old Jerusalem, and also with the second time Jerusalem was destroyed after Jesus went to heaven. The last time Jerusalem was destroyed, it was said that when the certain sign comes, they should flee when they see the sign. And those who saw the sign fled. But they fled from Jerusalem 3.5 years before the next time the Romans came and destroyed it. And I asked myself, didn't they not feel uncomfortable because they left Jerusalem and nothing happened? Did Noah not feel uncomfortable that he has preached the coming of the crisis and the rain, and now he's in that ark and 7 days nothing happens? So they might have been able to return to Jerusalem saying, it was a wrong sign. But it's not said that it happened. Because when they all fell asleep, their destiny was sealed. So, of course, the parable just brings out certain ideas, but I believe that we should know the sifting process is long before the final crisis hits. That is, that which will then be the judgment. So we came into this crisis 2.5 years ago, and now it looks like we're getting to that point of a little of so-called peace. But let us not be deceived. Pattern, they repeat. And God has given us that, why the pattern, that we could see it. Our time, when the cry will come, wake up and go and enlighten him his way. At that time, there will be no preparation. The sifting process has been before this relaxing time of sleep. That's why we must be taking very much care of the time we're living in. We must be so watchful that when that cry comes, we might be ready. And when we prepare our lamps, we have all the abilities that Jesus and God has, because we live his life. There is no impurity in their lives of the 5 virgins, of the 5 wise virgins. The lie has been eradicated. There's nothing of them in them anymore. They are clean, holy, righteous, free, fearing God, fulfilling the law. They are in the truth. They are in this state of their heart inside of them, and they prove by their life, by their actions, that they are in the truth. They're real. How did they start? Well, they start like everyone starts, in a sinful nature, in an idea that I'm a God. There is love, freedom, and justice, our need, and we go and take them from humans, not knowing that Satan is behind them. We trust humans, what they say, we believe them, and we trust them, and bind ourselves to them, and our will does everything for himself, and our body must follow our will with the emotions and all what we do. That's how we all are born and work. But here comes the crucible, who needs to reveal to them the error of their hearts. And through the crucible, when they see the things, this dependency on whom they are dependent coming, they realize that their will is trapped in compulsion. They don't do what they want. And the lesson describes Elijah. Elijah was a great man. He just did the great revelation of God is God on Mount Carmel. But there was still something in his heart that was not yet removed. And so God sent him a message through Isabel that tomorrow at this time, Isabel told him, you will be dead like you killed my priests. Now, Elijah should have taken that note or that message and say, well, if you can, that's fine. But no. He feared his life. And he feared that he might die. He might be killed by Isabel. So he did not sleep that night. He ran away. He took his servant. He left his servant in a certain place and he ran into the desert because he was used to hide. For 3.5 years he hided himself. But now, this time it was not God who sent him to hide. It was not God who showed him where he should stay. It's him going by himself. And it's amazing how his fear left him and he came into the disease of depression and said, Lord, I want to die. Now, why would you die if you run away from being killed? You see how deceitful above all things is our heart. Well, if you want to die, then just let yourself kill by Isabel. But no, you run for your life, but now you want to die. That doesn't make sense. But this is exactly how people react because of the deception of their heart. They want to preserve life, and then when they see they cannot, then they rather want to die than preserve it. But God did not left his servant. He called him and said, Elijah, eat and drink. And he gave him food from heaven. And he was able to walk 40 days and 40 nights to meet the Lord at Horeb. And here something happened. Here Elijah became aware of his dependence on humans, that they might take away his life. You see, friends, Elijah is not by accident the example for us at our time, because he had his last thing, the fear of death by humans. That is, humans could kill you. And we will come at the same point. The Bible reveals to us the same thing, that we need to overcome the fear of death. The last thing is the death penalty, the death decree. And the day they want to kill us, God will intervene. But in that time we must be in patience, awaiting both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of God. So Elijah had to resolve this problem, and God helped him, meeting him there. Elijah crucified his sinful nature, I think for the last time, and forever people and Satan were not his sources anymore, and God, because he took Christ instead of, became his source of life as a perfect human being. He did this before, of course, he lived with God, but that is a process we have to go through. And when he was perfect, the will becomes free, it has no compulsion. We don't read about Elijah having any issues anymore after that meeting with God at Horeb. And his body showed positive emotions, and he could do and finish his work that God has appointed him to do. This is where we have to come. God will have prepared for us a way as well as he prepared for Elijah, that we might overcome step by step everything, every deception of our nature, until we are totally free. Until we are totally free. So, in order to understand this process, Jesus gave a parable, not only one, but this one is his first parable in Matthew 13, starting from verse 3. It's the parable of the sower and the 4 grounds where the seed fell. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell unto good ground, and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Now this is a process. This describes the process of the transformation of identity. We all start from how we are born, and we must come to the place where we are perfect. And it is a process, as we know, because the seed must grow and bring fruit. And it grows and brings fruit according to the ground. Is the ground, which is the heart, in the truth, then the fruit is there. Is the heart not in the truth, there is no fruit. So that's why the bringing the fruit is the harvest of the earth. So then people must be finished. Because there will be just 2 harvests, the one with the good fruits and the other with the bad fruits, or the wheat and the harvest of the grain. So, let's look to the explanation Jesus gives from verse 18. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom, and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one, and catches away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed into stony places, the same is that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it. Yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that received seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit, and bringeth forth some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. So, here we have the explanation that Jesus gives. So, one key that is here is he that understandeth. Now, why is understanding so important? As we are called to be teachers, and this is my job, I need to be as plain as possible that things could be understood, because we saw the seed of the gospel, the seed of truth. But if the mind doesn't understand it, nothing happens. That's why we need to understand. The mind needs to understand the truth. If we do not understand the truth, we cannot put it into practice. Because God put grace in reason. We must be able to reason it. And of course, there might be many ideas why someone does not understand, but this is the reality. He does not understand it. He leaves it alone. And the devil will take care so that he will not encounter it again. But the main idea is this. He who understandeth, this one understands the information. Now, that what is fallen on stony ground understands as well, but can you endure the things that come because you now took the new life of Christ? Are you willing to grow? It obviously germinates, but it cannot bear fruit. Because on the one side, you have these human dependencies, and on the other side, you have the riches of this earth. You have something you go to, you have worries of your future. You want to to have security for tomorrow. That all comes from this nature. And we will encounter them. But what will we do with them? Will we take care of ourselves? Do we want for us to keep the humans around us, or to not become poor in this world, having nothing, just to trust God, like Jesus? So the ground needs to be changed so that the seed must bear fruit. So you see the dependencies on the ground. It's on the state of the ground. And this state must be changed. Because the fruit is just a result of how the ground is. If this does not germinate, this should come out and dries away, or is not able to come out at the thorns and thistles, between the thorns and thistles, it is because of the ground. So we need to have a change of the ground. And that is a process. And we should never stop that process. And if we don't stop the process, one day our ground will be pure. And then the gospel will bring a fruit. And that is the fruit of righteousness. Those are the things that we will bring home. This fruit are the souls that we will win in these last days. One 100-fold, the other 60, the other 30. But at least everyone gets at least 30. There will be no one that has no fruit, because it's impossible. Here, when we are in the truth, when we are there where the 5 wise virgins will be, the fruit will be great. Because out of us will come out the abilities that are divine. We will have patience with the wrong ones. We will be able to wait on the Lord for righteousness. We don't need to fight for our righteousness. We will be able to just bless those who curse us, or even pray for those who do us harm. That is none of a human ability. That not even Adam had in Eden. This is only the ability of those who are pure, who have the life of Christ completely implemented, who live through Him and by Him. They will show the fruit. That's why let us put it somewhere, not only on the wall, but write it in the heart. It is a precious thing, both to hope and to wait on the help of the Lord. Amen.